To the south of the kingdom of Cerulia and north of the Roiling Sea is an ancient war-torn place known as the Shattered Lands. An untamed land that no one people has ever been able to fully claim. It is a place of constant strife and ever-shifting alliances. Men, elves, dwarves, orcs, and all manner of other monsters strive for dominance here as the pitiless gods laugh at their struggles. Life is cheap, and the currency of steel and blood is the only one shared between these different factions. Whole kingdoms rise and fall within the Shattered Lands in a shockingly brief time compared to other, more settled places. In the region known as the Lonely Valley lies the southernmost part of the kingdom of Cerulia. It is the far southern frontier of the kingdom, and the people here are tough and hardy. The Thunder River has long been the provincial border of the kingdom, although in recent years, the people of the valley have pushed beyond the river to try and establish new settlements. This has proved disastrous, as new battles have broken out, most recently between the elves of the realm of the Endless Weald and a huge influx of northern barbarians who have driven all before them to stake their claim in the Shattered Lands. Today, every faction battles the others for both dominance and survival. There is no common purpose, even among the so-called goodly races. Elves and dwarves, once ancient allies, battle each other as readily as they do men and monsters. Creatures swarm up from below ground, seeking to take and devour the surface dwellers, and nameless cults whisper dark prayers to evil gods, seeking the power to strike down their enemies. Into this maelstrom of conflict come would-be heroes, some seeking wealth and power, while others seek to make a difference and help out the common folk. The Shattered Lands themselves are indifferent, but the land here is watered by the blood of nameless heroes long forgotten by all but the most learned of sages and scholars. Will these new heroes be any different? Will they forge a tale worthy of remembrance? Or will their bones, like so many before them, wink at passing travelers beneath verdant grasses and thick forests?
Visitors to the Temple of the Argent Lord are often greeted with a strange sight when they first arrive. A hulking man who looks like a mighty barbarian with the robes of a priest of light. An imposing man who would not look out of place in hide armor, with a battle axe in his hand. Bertram instead wears chain and plate and carries a massive maul into combat. He is no less dangerous than any northern barbarian, and fights like he was born to battle, which he was. Bertram was born into a northern tribe of barbarians who had newly migrated into the Shattered Lands. These Northmen fought other tribes of barbarians, as well as monsters and more civilized humans for a place in these lands. These battles were savage and brutal, and no quarter was asked or given. Bertram's entire tribe was wiped out in such a battle when he was the tender age of 5 years old. He remembers little of the battle itself, just flashes of losing his family and his friends. As one of the few survivors, he was taken captive to be kept in thrall to the conquering tribe. What his life may have been cannot be known, for fate intervened in the form of a contingent of knights and clerics sworn to the Argent Lord, who came upon the slaughter. Seeing men, women, and children slain roused their righteous zeal, and they decimated the barbarians. Finding the young boy in chains, they freed him and brought him back to their temple to nurse his wounds. One of Bertram's memories is of the imposing figure of the cleric Gedwin, carrying him to safety. The boy was raised in the faith and became an ardent follower of the Argent Lord, whose tenets of strength and zeal mixed with mercy and kindness. In time, he grew to adulthood and took the Argent Oath, and became a priest of the Argent Lord. When Father Gedwin ascended to become the High Exemplar and priest of the order, Bertram became his second in command. He remembers little of his life with his tribe, although he bears their mark on his shoulder. which all the children of the tribe were given. He struggles with a deep rage, though whether this is from the loss he endured, his heritage from a line of berserk warriors, or both, none can tell. What he knows is that he despises the barbaric culture that he descended from, and while Father Gedwin has attempted to show him the folly of hating who you are, Bertram cannot help it. Even his name Bertram was given to him, as the knights could not properly pronounce his tribal name, and he was glad to forget it. Recently, the Temple of the Argent Lord was attacked by a force of beastmen, calling themselves the Cloven. While they were driven out, they apparently stole something of great value from a secret place within the temple. To his fury, Bertram was not there, having been sent on an errand. Returning to find his friends dead and his home invaded kindled his rage anew. Father Gedwin hasn't revealed to most of the inhabitants of the temple what was taken. Bertram counseled with him, and afterward began commissioning a covered wagon with a team of horses. The small folk around the temple noted that the massive priest also had an oak chest banded with iron and a stout lock made as well. Rumor has it that Father Gedwin is sending his second in command after what was stolen, for it is well known that Bertram has his complete trust.
Born of an elven mother and a human father, Aelwyn the Druid has always been of two worlds. Her parents met long ago when both were adventurers and found love in each other, at least for a time. Aelwyn has precious few memories of the time her parents were together. As her mother always put it, it was doomed from the start. While they had been comrades in their adventures, as they grew older, the demands of their lives began to pull them apart. Aelwyn's mother, Shiasa, was a druidess who had sought to stop a great evil to the north. Her companions, among them Aelwyn's father, the ranger Hengist, were drawn together on common purpose and, after many trials and perils, triumphed. In the aftermath, the druid later explained to her daughter, Shiasa and Hengist's ardor slowly cooled. While they had love for each other, they began to realize what actually being together would truly mean. Shiasa was with child when they tried to settle down, but found it difficult. Hengist was a simple man from a family of woodcutters, while Shiasa was elven nobility from the great forest realm known as the Endless Weald. Aelwyn's birth made things easier for a time, but both her parents felt the pressure as they were pulled in opposite directions. Hengist was a man of the kingdom of Cerulia, and when war broke out, he was called to fight again. Tearfully, Hengist went off to war, kissing his daughter and not knowing if he would ever see her again. The war dragged on for years, and while Hengist survived, the horrors plagued him. He took to drink and didn't feel ready to face Shiasa and Aelwyn. Shiasa told him to come to the elven realm where they would await him. Eventually, when he did journey to the Endless Weald, he found Aelwyn had grown into a little girl and Shiasa had grown distant. The druidess had gone through excruciating trials and was now known as Shiasa the Caller, mistress of the Sixth Circle. Shiasa was appalled by what the years and trials of war had wrought upon the handsome young man she'd fallen in love with. As an elf, time had not touched her, but Hengist seemed an aging shell of the man he'd once been. Shiasa had explained that their love had waxed and waned like a flower on the vine, and its time was done. Neither fought it, and Aelwyn's father was the stranger she shrank from. Defeated, Hengist said goodbye, hoping to see his daughter again one day. Time passes differently for elven kind than it does for humans, and as Aylwin grew to young adulthood, she thought of her estranged father more and more. Her mother was now the archdruidess, and, in the way of elves, was somewhat cool and aloof the less her daughter needed her. Aylwin felt her human half longing to see her father, and realized that as a human, he might not even still be alive. She also told her daughter it would be good for her to see her father, as well as experience more of the world. With her mother's blessing and her faithful elk companion Ruathane at her side, Aylwin traveled north into the kingdom of Cerulia. After a long journey, to her joy, she found her father still living. She also found that he had remarried and had more children. Now an old man, Hengist was overjoyed to see his daughter. At first, Aylwin feared her reception, but the family took her in warmly. Hengist had told them stories, and to his younger children she was like a fairy tale come to life. His wife Marna was happy at the joy seeing his oldest child brought Hengist. For her part, Aylwin found the warmth that she had craved and lived with them for a time. Aylwin was shocked and alarmed at how quickly time passed for her human family. As Hengist's vitality began to fail, she decided to spend what time she had left at his side. She was there until the end and mourned his passing, but was helped when he told her she had blessed him beyond measure. Aylwin stayed to help afterward, but when Marna saw that her thoughts strayed back to her mother, she encouraged her to return. Promising her young siblings that she would return, Aylwin ventured back to the Shattered Lands, but was shocked at what she found. War had come again to the land, and now the realms of men and elves fought against each other, just as they battled orcs, goblins, and other monsters. Elves were distrusted in the kingdom, and humans and even half-elves were banned from the elven realm. Unsure what to do, Aylwin has sought the counsel of her mother's old friend, Father Gedwin, at the temple of the Argent Lord.
Seluvis the Seeker. Well-dressed and well-spoken, one might think Seluvis was nobility, or perhaps from a wealthy merchant house. He can easily blend in with high society or the peasantry at need, for Seluvis is a member of the Seekers, that mysterious esoteric order that moves within many kingdoms with an autonomy that others are often jealous of. The Seekers have been thought at times to be everything from simple practitioners of higher magic to an order that secretly controls the fate of nations. If asked, they usually smile and shrug, keeping their secrets. However, if pressed, and the situation demands it, a Seeker will say that they are guardians. Pressed further, they might even expound upon this and say they are guardians against that which mortals were not meant to meddle with. Seluvis himself is a battle mage among his comrades and one of the foremost minds and field agents the Seekers possess. He has delved ancient ruins and forgotten holds throughout many lands, and his triumphs are the kind only a few know of, even though he has saved countless lives. Such is the life of a Seeker, the wizard would say with a shrug. Seluvis is a highly intelligent, ingenious, quick with a blade, and even quicker with a spell. Wise enough to know which hands need to be greased with coin and which ones need to be cut off, Seluvis is a Seeker of the Golden Path, the highest of orders within the Seekers. To outsiders, the Seekers might seem to be only collectors of antiques and rarities, and this is a notion fostered by the Seekers themselves. It suits their ends to be seen as simple collectors, for secrecy is as useful to them as any blade or spell. Seluvis himself wears secrecy like a cloak and subterfuge like a dagger. The wizard has come to the Shattered Lands on business for the Seekers. It is not the first time he has been here and has many contacts and friends among the land. Why he is here now is, as always, shrouded in mystery, but even those who have known the Urbane Seeker for a long time can tell it is important. They would also notice that he has a new companion, Vrixis, a small brass dragon that, at first glance, seems to be young, but upon closer inspection speaks like a fully grown dragon. This dragonling seems equal parts research assistant, companion, and sidekick, although if asked, Vrixis would explain in great detail that Seluvis is, in fact, the sidekick. Seluvis has allies in many places, one of which is Father Gedwin, High Priest at the Temple of the Argent Lord. The two have shared tales and research for many years, and often Seluvis avails himself of the temple's extensive library when in the area. The priest and the wizard have become friends, and Seluvis has gotten to know Gedwin's protege, Brother Bertram, fairly well over the years. The wizard shares books and knowledge, often donating to the library, as well as giving his expert opinion on arcane matters as a sage, and has developed a good relationship with the priest there. For nearly a month now, Seluvis has been at the temple studying and taking copious notes. He and his draconic companion can be heard talking, laughing, and arguing until the wee hours of the morning as they compare notes and thoughts. No one at the temple, with the possible exception of Father Gedwin, knows why the mysterious seeker has stayed so long this time. But if the high priest knows, he isn't sharing. What is certain is that it must be serious, for Father Gedwin has instructed the clerics to render his friend all possible aid.
Well known in the heartland of the kingdom of Cerulia, Sir Venric Truestill exemplifies to many what a knight should be. Bold and strong, yet chivalrous and kind. Venric is generous and giving to those goodly people in need, but is a terrifying enemy to the wicked and evil who would prey upon them. Those who have mistaken his friendly demeanor for any sort of weakness learn to regret it when steel is bare, for he is a champion of the kingdom, an honor hard fought and earned. Born into the noble house of Truestill, Venric was groomed to be a knight from a child, and excelled martially as well in his tactical studies. He squired for Sir Tenyon Halton, a famous knight and friend of his father's, who taught him all he knew. Growing to manhood, Venric surpassed his teachers, gaining renown on the battlefield and in tournaments. In time, the knight wearied of the hollow victories of tourney and hunting bandits. He longed for a way to truly prove himself and live up to his name. He would get that chance much sooner than he ever dreamed. Sir Venric would get more than a taste of war. For the next few years, he would drown in it. When war broke out between the kingdom of Cerulia and the empire of Vost, Venric was among many eager young knights ready to prove themselves on the front lines of battle. They knew the bright joy of brief clashes and sang songs as they rode out. Their elders, who had known more, could only shake their heads, knowing the brutal, grinding horrors of true warfare. There was nothing for it, however. The Empire had invaded, and Cerulia called upon them to defend her borders. For 3 long years, the war has ground on, spilling countless amounts of blood with no clear victor in sight. Vost, an empire of religious fanatics, seems content to fight to the last man, and Cerulia must defend herself. Recently, the Battle of Calford saw some of the most brutal fighting in the war, and Sir Venric was right there in the thick of it. Sir Tenyon was in command of Griffin Company, which Venric was part of it. The village of Calford had a bridge that needed to be held at all costs, and as the infantry of the company gave way before the spearmen of Vost, the knights of Griffin Company charged in. Sir Tenyon's plan was for his second in command, Sir Vargas, with his small but elite band of knights known as the Shadowlance, to cross the river in advance. They were to charge in from the rear once battle was joined. On that fateful day, however, when Griffin Company was in the fight of its life, the Shadowlands never showed. Although the knights fought valiantly, they were inexorably pushed back. Sir Venric was unhorsed and laying about him with his sword, killing with every stroke. When he saw Sir Tenyon, his old friend and teacher, slain before his eyes. Venric fought like a madman to avenge his death and slew a great number of men in vengeance that day before he too was struck down. Venric awoke in captivity. He was a valuable prize known even among the warriors of Voss and fetched a kingly ransom. While he healed from his wounds, Venric could not get the battle out of his mind. Over and over he saw the death of Sir Tenyon and wondered, where was the Shadowlands? Where was Sir Vargas? What had happened? When he had healed enough to ride, Sir Venric was offered anything he desired as a reward. His actions at the bridge had bought enough time for another company to move up and stop the Empire from pushing further into his country. His superiors were shocked when he asked only for his freedom to find the Shadowlands. At first, they tried to talk him out of it. There was a war on, and valiant knights such as himself were needed, but Venric's will was iron and they could not refuse the honorable and famed knight. Following rumors of the Shadowlands that led him to the southernmost part of the kingdom of Cerulia, Sir Venric came to the Lonely Valley and the region known as the Shattered Lands. Leaving with his family arms and armor, his faithful steed, and a young squire named Clay, newly taken into his service, he has made his way to the Temple of the Argent Lord, where he hopes to find more information. One thing is certain, the knight will not rest until he finds Sir Vargas and the Shadowlands, and has sworn an oath on his honor and the memory of the fallen.